Welcome to the PFC podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mike Payton. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I'll be giving you tips and tricks on how to improve your overall fitness and help you make progress in the gym. Let's get right into the show. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what muscles to hit during your workout. To kind of break down this topic, we have to look at what we call a workout split. So if you think about going to the gym, right, you don't want to destroy yourself in the gym and then have to go to work the next day, and it's just a big mess, right? So we want to have something called a workout split. So you could go to the gym 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and that would be like your workout split. So how much can you accomplish within 2 to 3 hours per week, maybe 4 hours, 6 or 7 hours if you're crazy, or really advanced. So we're going to be looking at workout splits. So a workout split, you got to look at a few things. How many days a week are you willing to train? How many days a week do you need to train for your goals? And then kind of what you want to accomplish. So I'm gonna go through a list of about 6 splits that are very common, and I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons to each one to help you make the decision as to which one is best for you. So first one, the good old classic, the bro split. So that's like you've got chest day, or like chest and tris, and then back and bis, and then you got an ab and calves or something day, and then you've got like a leg day, or you do like an arm day, a chest day, a back day, a squat day, or a leg day, so you kind of break down each like muscle and do it on a day. The pros to that are that you can kind of do it however you want, and whenever you go to the gym, you're like, man, I got this really great arm pump and it was amazing. But generally that kind of a split is flawed in many ways. One, the biggest one is that you generally don't get enough volume, especially for muscles that can be hit more than 1 time a week. So if I'm only doing chest day once a week, I'm only hitting my pecs once a week, they're fully recovered by Friday, or by the day or 2 after that workout, and ready to be hit again. And so you're missing out on a lot of gains that you could be making if you did it a different way. Another flaw with it is like your consistency. And that's what you're going to see with most workout splits is consistency is the biggest key. Because what if you work out 6 days a week and then something comes up on one of the days? What do you do then? Do you push everything back? Do you skip that day? Do you you kind of have to figure out what to do? Do you double up one day? And there's obviously ways around that to where, you could double up one day or skip it or whatever. You can work around it however you want. But I feel like there's a better way to go about it than this one. And if you find that you make a lot of progress on this, great. Keep doing it until you stop making progress. Because any of these splits, with the exception for like 1 or 2, you're gonna stagnate somewhat. So that's the bro split. That's usually a 6-day a week, at a minimum, usually weekly program. So if you're not somebody who can feasibly do that, that's just going to be really challenging for you. So the next one we have is push pull legs. So PPL, the like acronym for it. Push pull legs, pretty good. I like push pull legs. I did push pull legs for many years. You can either do what I did for a long time was I did a push, a pull, and then a push, a pull day. So I did it 4 days a week, and I would do like upper and lower body push and on one day, and then pull. Now, you don't have to do that. If you do, this is going to be like a 6-day a week program to where if you're not able to commit 6 days a week, it's going to be pretty challenging. And this would be like your chest and tries, back and bis, and then legs, you know. So you're not necessarily looking at pulling one specific muscle group. You're kind of grouping them all together and hitting the muscles that do very similar things or movement patterns that you would pair together. So that's a push-pull legs. The pros to this are you're going to be hitting more of those like recovered muscles a lot faster. So you're going to be getting a good amount of volume per week, which is really good for maximum progress. But you're going to have the same problem as the last one where that consistency is a thing. So if you're somebody who is really busy, maybe you've got kids, maybe you are just a really busy, maybe you're a business owner, maybe you could go a laundry list of things, maybe you work in the medical field. All of these things play a factor. And so some days you're not going to feel like going to the gym, and you're just not going to be able to go to the gym. And what do you do then? You know, so you just have to weigh the pros and cons. If you can feasibly make it to the gym 6 days a week, by all means, do this kind of a program. But in my opinion, you might still be leaving some things on the table just because you are probably going to skip days unless you're like really like a fitness fanatic, like you're really into it and you never miss a day, you know. But if you're a normal person like me, I accidentally skip days sometimes, or I'm just really exhausted and I really cannot feasibly do it, or I have a lot of things that I got to get done at home. You know, life happens, and working out isn't life. So sometimes it's got to go on the back burner. So that's push pull legs. The next one we have on the list is full body. So a full body split is like you hit like all the major muscle groups in one workout, and that'd be like 2 to 3 days a week. And honestly, 2 to 3 days a week for most people, most of the time is ample. Like that means you'll be hitting those muscles that can recover really quick 3 times a week, which is really, really good. And the muscles that don't, you can kind of alter things, and the way you program becomes really important, because you have to figure out, okay, I hit this muscle at this angle and it's still a little sore 2 days later whenever I'm supposed to go to the gym again. But maybe I can hit it at this different angle, or I can train muscles around it that kind of do a similar thing, and not like overtrain this muscle. So programming becomes really important with this one. So if you're newer at programming for yourself, this one's going to be really challenging. If this is something that you want to do, it might be helpful to get like a trainer, or talk to somebody who's done a full body split for a long time. Ask them how they do it, and or ask a trainer, see how they do it, and then you can figure out, okay, this is kind of how I want to do it, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the con with this one. I'll give you some tips and tricks at the end of this episode on how to like program for yourself, and how to figure out what kind of program you should be doing, and how to figure out what exercises to do. So, but the pros to this one are, if you miss a day, it's okay, because now you can just move it to the next day and go to the gym, and then you're all good, because it's only 2 to 3 days a week. So generally, for like the average person, I really recommend this kind of program, actually, because of that reason. You're going to not like lose out on the gains that you would otherwise make. So that's the full body split. The next one is what, I don't know. I don't know if this is an actual like split necessarily, but it's what I call like the intuitive split. So you go into the gym, you're like, what's feeling good? What can I hit? What haven't I hit in a while that needs to be trained? And you kind of do that. Um, Now, I'm basing this on like some things that I've heard where, okay, like your shoulders can be trained like almost every day. Same with like your abs. Like your core and your shoulders are built to be trained very often. They're very uh, they recover really quickly, generally. Especially if you've trained them for a long time, they'll recover really quick. Versus some of the bigger muscle groups like the pecs or the back uh, tend to be more taxing on both the nervous system and as the muscle group. So you might be able to train them a little bit less. So say you go to the gym every single day, or you go to the gym 6 days a week or 5 days a week, and every single one of those days you train shoulders and abs, and then the other days you train, say, your triceps and biceps one day, and then the next day you train legs, hamstrings and quads. You and then the next day you kind of feel, okay, what's not sore? I'll train that. The flaw with this one is you really go in with zero plan, and I think it's really good to have a plan when you go to the gym. If you don't, you're just going to be wandering around aimlessly, and you're going to be leaving a lot of potential gains on the table. So, and you kind of have to have a lot of knowledge for this one, especially like self knowledge. You have to kind of be able to tell what's fatigued and what's not. Even if it's not sore, it might still be fatigued, and you have to have a lot of self knowledge to know that. So I would steer clear of this one for most people, unless you've been training a really long time. That's what I would call the like intuitive split. Number 5 here on the list is an anterior chain, posterior chain workout. I've also done this one. I did it for a while. It's more of like your upper body pull, lower, or not upper body, sorry. Push, pull kind of an idea. Except in order to do this one, you have to understand all of the muscles on one side of the body. So your biceps, pecs, abs, quads, anterior tib, are all on like the anterior chain. And so if you want to train the anterior chain, you could do something like a front squat, I guess. And that would hit a lot of that anterior chain, hitting a lot of those quads and like front delts. And you're going to get glutes and hamstrings in there too, but and then the next day you would train the whole posterior chain. So you do things like deadlifts, glute ham raise. This one's really fun if you want to challenge yourself with your understanding of the body. How can I train my biceps and my pecs at the same time? How can I train my triceps and my back at the same time? That's actually like a really hard thing to do. And so if you want to have fun with figuring out different ways to train, maybe you've been doing the same split for a long time, this one can be really good. But again, it has the same flaw where you miss a day. Well, you didn't get enough volume on that one muscle group or that like the anterior posterior chain, and now you're set back. And so, as before, it's just not necessarily the best unless you're really, really consistent. Number 6 is like a powerlifting split. So a powerlifting split, if you don't know or aren't familiar with powerlifting, the 3 major lifts that they do are bench, squat, and deadlift. And so their workouts are generally tailored to those lifts. So if you do a day, you train 3 days a week-ish. First day you do bench press. Okay, you do bench press, you start with bench, and then you do the accessory muscles for that lift. So triceps, front delts, maybe some extra pec work in there, maybe some rotator cuff exercises, that kind of thing. Maybe even train your lats um, to engage during that lift. And then you do a day on deadlifts. You train hamstring, like you do deadlifts, then you train your hamstrings, calves, um, glutes, low back, uh, and then the day after that you do your squat. So then you train quads, you train your glutes, so on and so forth. Maybe some of your like adductor muscles in order to stabilize. This one is good if you're a power lifter. I'll just put it bluntly. And if you're not, but you want to get really strong, that could be really good. With a lot of these programs, you tend to run into the problem of you're only working front to back and not side to side at all, or within like a rotational movement, which it can leave gains on the table, and it can potentially result in injury. So that's kind of what I would say about that one. So those are the 6 different like splits. There's more out there, different methodologies, different ideologies as to how to train, all of that. But these are some of the bigger ones. So the question is, which one should you do? Now, I will say most people will benefit from 2 to 3 days a week of training, no more. Especially people who are really busy, you tend to get really stressed, and workout is stress on the body. So you want to maintain a certain amount of stress. Otherwise, you will not make progress in the gym. You will not make any progress because you will be overreaching. You'll be too tired, too exhausted, and you might not even be able to tell unless somebody pointed it out to you. And so 2 to 3 days a week, it's going to be your best bet. And the only program that really falls into that category is the full body program. Full body split is going to be the best for most people most of the time. Now there are exceptions to that, and that would be if you're an advanced lifter or you're really consistent. Then you might do a push-pull legs or a push-pull anterior posterior chain, or even maybe a bro split. I would say that bro split's probably the worst one out of all of those. So that's what I'll say on that. That's going to be your best bet, is to train 2 to 3 times a week, hitting every major muscle group, and I'll kind of teach you how to do that next. So if you're an average person, especially when you're starting out, I would say this is even more pivotal. So here's how to think about your workouts. You need roughly 5 to 6 components in a workout. You want an upper body pull. You want that to be horizontal and vertical. So one of your days you could do a horizontal, the other day you could do a vertical. That'd be like a bent over row is your horizontal, and then vertical would be like a lat pull down or a pull up or something like that. Because you're going to be hitting different fibers and different muscle groups, different muscles, depending on which one of those you do. So I would recommend that as number 1. Number 2, you want same thing with upper body pushing. So like a bench press would be your vertical push, and then your horizontal push could be like an overhead press or some variation of either of those two. You could even do like an incline press would be good for your vertical, or like a decline bench for your horizontal. You're just hitting those different angles of the pec fibers, but also you'd be hitting more different muscles depending on the angle there. You want a lower body pull / a hinge. So think about like deadlifts, RDLs, good mornings. Those kinds of exercises are going to be your lower body pull. Hamstring curls would be another example. And you want to have variations between the days. So say day one, you do horizontal pull, vertical push. The other day, you want to do the opposite. And then if, say, you do a lower body pull, you could do a deadlift, and then the next day do some kind of hamstring curl or like a lateral movement with an RDL, single leg RDL, good mornings, something like that. And then number 4, you want a lower body push. So that's a squat, lunge, lateral lunge, pistol squat, Bulgarian split squat. The list goes on. And again, you want to vary those between the workouts. So day one, you want to do one, say squat. Day two, you want to have some kind of like a different squat variation. So maybe a Bulgarian split squat or a lunge or something like that. And number 5, you want to have some kind of carry. So you could do a suitcase carry, farmer's carry, overhead carry, any kind of carrying variation for a couple different reasons. Carrying is very functional, and also you just want to be strong within like that shoulder, and that's going to help very well with that and keep you nice and stable. And number 6, you want to make sure of 2 different things. So number 6 is kind of 2-parter. You want to have exercises that work one side of the body versus doing both sides at the same time. So one day you might do a single arm overhead press, and then the next day you do a double-handed incline bench press, So you want to vary doing one side and the other. You could do this day to day. You could do this cycle to cycle. So you could do 4 weeks of doing bilateral or both sides, and then 4 weeks of doing just unilateral or one side of the body. Or you can mix it up and do one day a week you do both sides, and one day a week you do one side, But you want to make sure you have that, because that can take care of a lot of imbalances from side to side. And then along with that, you want to make sure you're doing like lateral movements and rotational movements in your workouts too, because those are going to be really important for taking care of some of those imbalances or dare I say, like energy leaks. So like if you aren't very strong side to side, it could cause instability in, say, your deadlift or your bench press. And so taking care of those with some other exercises are going to be really good to make sure that that doesn't happen. Some examples of this would be like something as simple as a Russian twist or a lateral lunge, or you could do things with a landmine. Landmines are great for this. Single leg RDLs, you can look it up, even exercises. But those are all going to be major components that you want to have in your workouts. So those are the 6. You want to have an upper body pull, upper body push, lower body pull, lower body push, a carry, and you want to make sure you have unilateral exercises as well as working in different planes of motion. So rotational and side to side, not just front to back. I hope this episode helps you figure out what split is best for you. Like I said, I recommend the full body 2 to 3 day a week for most people most of the time. If you want to follow me for more, you can follow me on Instagram, and that would be Coach Mike Payton. and on Facebook, Michael Payton, and here on Spotify, you can look up the PFC podcast if for some reason you don't already know where that is, but if you're listening to this, you probably do. And I hope this helps. See you next time.